When it comes to the security system category, I think it's suffice to say that VOXX Electronics has been a juggernaut in that category. Now, add to that the recent acquisition of Directed, a little under a year ago, and that just makes it, at another level. So for this session this morning for CMA Industry Week, we have with us pretty much the who's who of who's running the entire security division, along with the sales over at VOXX Electronics. And I'm really happy to have all these guests on because I think this is going to make for some really interesting conversation and an opportunity for VOXX to communicate all the updates they have, the current status of affairs, maybe give you some insight on what's to come. So to do that, we're going to start bringing in our guest. The first guest I have is, the first contact I had at VOXX Electronics, and his name is Joe Dentamaro. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Ben. How are you today?
Vice President of Vehicle Security, no less. This whole session is dedicated to getting Canadian dealers and dealers in general an update or a sense of who's behind, all the security department at VOXX Electronics and what's going on. So before we get into it too much, why don't we bring on the panel, because it will be a little bit more of a roundtable than the traditional presentation. Our next presenter with us is the Director of Product Development. His name is Dan Bisceglia. I'm going to add him here. Morning, Dan.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Then we have the Vice President of U.S. Sales. His name is Mr. Al Fontaine. Welcome to the show, Al. And then lastly, this guy I've known for a very long time, and he represents where I live, and that is Canada, because he's the Vice President of Sales up here in Canada, and our Canadian customers recognize him, of course, Mr. Alan Beers.
Morning, Ben. Thank you.
Morning. So, here we are. I've got everybody who's important at one place. I feel like this is like out of a Godfather movie. Should something happen, the company would stop. But having said that, Joe, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Why don't you give us a little bit of an update? What's going on? I dropped, obviously we already discussed this a little bit on a previous CMA Live, but the acquisition of Direct, and maybe that's a good place to start since that did happen quite a few months ago now.
Sure, absolutely, Ben. Yeah, it's been an amazing little journey here. It's just time is flying by, man. It's we're 9 months into this endeavor when we acquired DEI back in July, and it's been with all the bumps and issues with COVID and supply chain issues and everything going on over the last 9 months. It's been it's extremely challenging, but incredibly rewarding at the same time. The guys that we brought over from Directed, of course, Al and Alan, have been fantastic during the transition and the weaving everybody in. But again, the last 9 months have had its challenges. I think we've reacted the best that we possibly could at VOXX with getting inventory over here as fast as we possibly could, and I think that's still maybe one of the challenges that dealers are facing in the U.S. and in Canada as well. If there was one thing that I could tell people, just bear with us. I think we're doing everything humanly possible to get inventory here as fast as we possibly can. But it's we've had amazing months, and it's the funniest part of the whole thing is this is typically the time of the year where we see remote start season kind of winding down a little bit, and man, the dealers out there still have their foot smashed on the throttle, man. It's busy as hell. So
if I could ask you that, I've been talking to everybody from the other segments, right? Car audio, safety, driver safety, and they said this year is just, they don't understand. I mean, it just doesn't stop. They thought it might start trickling down after the new year, but you just reinforced the whole thing where it is continuing.
Yeah, it's amazing that the funny thing for me is we do our buying and for all our products every single month. We have our buying meeting. We go through every single solitary SKU in the entire VOXX organization, so you can imagine how many that is. But we're buying now for this coming remote start season, which is like August and September, and then we buy through the whole season. So that crystal ball that we have to rub to try to figure out what we're going to sell in August forward, people don't even know what they're going to buy this month, right? So we put numbers in at the beginning of the month, like I said, for August and September, but we still review March, April, May, the current months, and we're putting numbers in the first week of March and blowing them out by the middle of the month. So it's great. The business is fantastic, but it certainly keeps it exciting. That's for sure.
I'm going to go around the table here a little bit. Let's get some Canadian perspective out of the gate. Alan, do you echo what Joe's saying as far as the Canadian market is concerned?
Yeah, we've seen some really strong growth as well, and sales have continued in the same manner as in the U.S. We're still getting product in, as Joe mentioned, daily, so we're still filling back orders. We've seen a couple of pockets with the lockdowns that are a little slower than others, but where the economy has been opening up, we're definitely seeing some strong growth as well. So echoing what Joe is saying 100%.
Very, very cool. I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper on this directed thing, and I'm going to go to Daniel with this. Product development, obviously a lot more product just landed on your lap. And I'm just curious, have you had the chance to filter or, go through the pile that sits in front of you and say, hey, now that we have these brands, where are we going next 2 years, 5 years, technology wise and product offering wise?
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience for me, taking a brand new line that has been around and loved for a really long time, and working with it. Working with Joe in the direction of the sales team, the best thing I can do is take that direction from them, what they'd like to see, in turn what our dealers like to see, and then creating that out with the entire directed engineering team.
Well, very, very cool. And how is that impacting sales, Mr. Fontaine, knowing that, all this stuff is happening, everything that Joe mentioned, and now Daniel is, ciphering through what is, I can only imagine, giant pile of product, and trying to forecast from a sales perspective what you're communicating to your dealers, what to do in the next 6 to 9 months.
What we're seeing right now is the fact that the majority of the U.S. is starting to open up. So like Joe was saying, normally around this time, the sales start to wind down for remote start season, but with the majority of the country opening up, the demand's even higher. But talking about, the tax checks coming in, the stimulus checks coming in, things like that. I mean, I had one of my guys in Texas that was actually at a dealer's store. He said that the line outside the store was like a Black Friday promo that he normally works for the guy. So it's crazy, and like you say about forecasting, it's really tough to do. Joe and I go through this, and Alan too, trying to forecast to see where we're going to hit. And, but it's that big crystal ball, you don't know what we're going to end up with. And I mean, it's great. And what we're trying to tell the dealers is, help us forecast at the same time. Tell us what you think you're going to need at the same time too. And I think not just in our industry, but I think not just in our category, but I think throughout the mobile category, you're going to see a lot of companies that are wanting the dealers to forecast this year as we go through, make sure that everybody has enough product on hand. So, but it's good. I can't complain.
And what you're saying is the same type of feedback I've been hearing from different manufacturers across the segments. And, their advice to dealers is, if you've got a little bit more cash in your pocket because of the extra business you have this year, invest in that inventory, because the manufacturers themselves don't know. They're trying to keep up, echoing what you said. So if for the dealers listening in, inventory is going to be critical over the next few months. So if there's something to adjust in your plan, maybe last year in August you bought 200 starters, you might want to look at 350 starters, because that is potentially what's about to go down. Do you agree with what I'm saying, Mr. Dentamaro?
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. And we were gonna wait a few more months to announce it, but I'll give you kind of a scoop here. So typically, every security and remote start company has a buy-in program or a promotion or something that they run in late summer going into a remote start season. And at VOXX over the years, we've built our remote start program to be one of not jamming up the dealer with all the inventory in August, right? It's not hey, bring in your entire season in August. we allocate inventory for them and put inventory, we call them special hold aisles for them. But the way we do our projections with our dealers is break out August or September through February with monthly product releases. And if the dealer comes into that program, and there's really no downside for the dealer in this, they don't have to pay for it, they don't have to keep it in stock. But if they do the projections, which we'll announce in July, if they send in their projections with their sales rep, regional sales manager, we'll basically hold that product release for them for each one of the months. So, if they're going to project 1,000 remote starts over the season, 100 in October, 400 in December, whatever those releases are, we hold that inventory and release it for them. If they do the projection, I will tell you, we have 100% last remote start season, even with the craziness that was going on during remote start season and all the volume that we did. Every single dealer that projected with us got every single solitary piece that they projected. So it's a great program. It works very, very well. And we're weaving that into the directed program for this coming season. So, maybe dealers didn't know about that. We'll more information to follow soon on that. But it's going to be an exciting program for the dealer, especially in these uncertain times of, when you can get inventory. To your point, it's always better to have it on their shelves than on somebody else's shelf. But, it's easier said than done to bring in 1,000 starters in July thinking you're going to sell those. That's a bit of a challenge for some dealers to do. So if they project with us, they'll get their inventory.
On the topic of programs, dealers are scrambling to find new technicians to try to keep up with the demand and the work. This is a real thing that's happening right now. So my question, and I'll leave this open to who is best suited to answer this: what tools, resources, programs do you have in place to support these dealers to be able to adjust, adapt, and thrive during these times where growth is imminent, but there's always growing pains? And I think the key to that will be education and training.
Yeah, that's been, I'll let everybody talk about that too. I mean, I started in this industry in the very early 80s, right out of high school as an installer, right? So I've carried that whole thing. I made a career out. That's the biggest thing that I think installers or people starting out and trying to get into the industry, if you look at the majority of the people in senior management positions at VOXX, we all started at the entryest level part of the business you could get, and made a career out of it. So I look at myself and go, hey, I started as an installer, went up to a service director, went up to a regional sales manager, a VP of sales, VP of product development. So there is a career path, and I think that's the biggest challenge with the younger generation, is trying to get them to see that there really is a career path, and it's not just, I'm going to do this for a year till I find something better. So I know everybody's trying it. Our participation in it has been with the immense amount of trainings that we do. And that's been a bit of a challenge for us with COVID and not being able to travel and doing these live in-session trainings. But, we on the first started on the VOXX side for us, our remote start certification trainings that Dan pretty much developed and we did in person with everybody, and we go through the basics. It's basically the basic MECP certification part of the training, and then into specifically with remote starts, and then give them a certificate for completing the training. And we found that works really well. We still get requests daily for doing more training. So that's our participation in it with the dealer is to make sure that the guys that do want to get involved are thoroughly trained and make it enjoyable for them so that they can see this career path.
Okay. We only have a few minutes left, but I definitely want to throw this up here. I'm going to go to the Mr. Product Development. That's a lot of product, as I just had mentioned. That's a lot of logos. We don't need to name them all because I think everybody's looking at these are familiar with these brands. Can you give us, in the short time that remains, any nuggets of maybe something interesting, something new coming down the pipe that we should be paying attention to?
Well, right now, no, unfortunately, I can't. We are working on a lot of new technologies, some ideas that VOXX has had and Directed has had, and trying to mesh all those ideas together.
Oh, that's what I was trying to get to. Is there going to be any fusion of technology / concept ideas?
I'll give you a couple nuggets because Dan.
There we go. Somebody's going to deliver. There we
Dan's
go.
probably nervous on what he should say or shouldn't say. So I'll give you a couple little nuggets. At VOXX, all encompassing all the logos that you see there, for everybody, keep your eye on digital starters. We're going to own that category this year. So a lot of work, a lot of development. Dan was talking about the product development team. I will tell you, between VOXX, our facility here in Michigan, where Dan and I are based out of, with all the OEM work that we do, our headquarters in Orlando, our shared services headquarters in New York, and of course our amazing engineering team up in Montreal. A lot of focus and energy is putting on new vehicle applications, T-harness applications. We have the most T-harness coverage of any starter company on the planet. We're going to continue that trend. We have 4 or 5 more coming soon. And again, it's all about vehicle application for digital. So there. Also, we'll announce in July the addition of several analog remote starters that Directed had taken out of the product lineup a few years back. We're bringing those back into the product lineup, specifically in Clifford and Python. A lot of our dealers, mostly in the U.S., I will say Canada is fiercely digital, and that's great. But a lot of the dealers in the U.S. still want analog starters. So our direction, our goal, our plan is to give the dealer what they want at the best possible value and the best possible performance. We're not going to dictate to them one way or the other what they have to do or not do, right? So, but on digital starters and on Smart Start, we have some interesting things coming later in the year.
I'm not going to beat around the bush, Joe. There is a certain expectation amongst the industry to see what is the outcome of this synergy of brands and technology. You know that. I think everybody here knows that. So we are excited to hear what's coming down the pipe. And definitely, please let us know when you can talk a little bit more about that stuff, because we'd love to have you on and get into details.
Absolutely. This is my favorite forum. So
I appreciate that.
We'll be back as often as we can, for sure.
Let's go around the table real quick. Mr. Fontaine, any last message you have for anybody listening as far as from a sales perspective, US stateside or otherwise?
Yeah, a couple things. First off, Joe hit the nail on the head when he talked about the forecasting and the program that VOXX has for their dealers. You know, where what's going to end up taking place, I see this year, a lot of manufacturers are going to be out there telling people, hey, you have to give me this order now. You know, you need to get it put on your shelves. I love the fact that VOXX has the commitment program where you're not making everybody buy everything at one time and tie up their dollars, right? What we're doing is guaranteeing them their product when they need it, you know, with monthly schedule releases. Love the program. Can't wait to have that Directed for this season. The other is, you made mention of the fact that most dealers are having issues with good technicians. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Dan, team, Joe, everybody that are working on all these new T-harnesses. Nothing made me feel better during the season when people telling me that they lost installers, technicians, but yet they still did remote start using our product, using our T-harnesses. So, you know, Joe nailed it, you know, and it definitely does work. So, as he also mentioned, was some people still want, you know, when we came over, I told them that the team had decided to kill some of the analog product that we had. But, you know, they said, hey, you know, if by chance people want that, we're going to buy it. You know, we're going to build it and have it on the shelves. So that's what I have.
Perfect. Thank you, Al. And Dan, yourself, any last message you'd like dealers to know about as far as the product development side of things is concerned?
Well, as Joe and Al said, the focus on T-harnesses is going to be big this year. And I think it's a really great tool to help new installers learn how to install remote starts. And the best advice I can give about product and product knowledge is ask as many questions as you can. We can't get out in front of you guys to educate and talk, but we're always open for questions. Calling into tech support, asking as many questions as you can is going to get that knowledge out to you.
Great. And to just support what Dan just said, Al and I actually did a really cool segment, which is coming up a little later on. I think it's tomorrow, actually, through BB Distribution, one of the distributors in Canada, where Al goes in depth about T-harness. So if you guys want to learn about that, make sure you tune in for that section. On that note, Mr. Beers, any message you have for the Canadian dealers?
Yeah, you're just raining on my parade a bit. I was just.
I'm sorry, my bad.
You and
I
I were
mean to pee in your Kool-Aid there.
some information for a little more in-depth information.
Yeah.
On products themselves and some of the things that are available. We'll have tomorrow, as you mentioned, with BB. We'll have a couple sessions with them. We'll have another one next Tuesday as well with BB en français for our Canadians that speak French. And on Monday the 29th, we'll also be working with Sobel, and we'll be doing some Viper presentations. And on Wednesday, April 1st, we'll be doing some en français with VOXX Sobel ACA as well. So we'll be able to cover all that. So if you're looking for some in-depth information, it's there. And just a step on what Dan mentioned as well, that the training team and the tech guys are available. I know we can't get on the road to get into your bays the way we have in the last few years, but they are still there. And as we get a little quieter on the phones here coming into the summer, they are available to book sessions with as well. We've got a phenomenal team on the tech side, and if you've got a new technician that needs a little bit of time, let us know ahead, and we can book an hour or two with one of our PSR specialists, one of our tech specialists, to walk them through all the resources they have and how to use them all to take advantage of all the tools at their disposal.
Or in Canada, call Jean, because he's the man.
Call Jean. Oh.
He's the man. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to keep you on, Joe. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Al. And thank you, Alan. Joe, you got the last word on this as we close this session out about security as far as VOXX Electronics is concerned.
Yeah. So again, just, thank everybody for all their patience with us, with Directed. Thank everybody for a great year that we had. I'm really excited about the future for the category. A lot of up to come, right? So it's exciting. We have some things planned. I want to do a training on selling vehicle security. I've seen an uptick in that, especially, whenever we see the economy kind of go down a little bit, there's a lot of theft out there. And, we've seen a spike in catalytic converters being stolen from cars.
That's been a while now for the, what's the element that they, rhodium? Is it rhodium?
Rhodium or something.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's happening everywhere. So we've been working with all the experience we have and everything and putting a deck together for how to sell vehicle security. But I think, again, it's the art of selling needs to come back, not just clerking, all for our own salespeople, for dealers, for retailers as well. And, that's just continuing education. And that's what we want to do.
What I will say to that statement, Joe, is you can't just leave it to the guy on YouTube to dictate what the customer should buy.
Absolutely.
And that's real. I mean, that's real talk right there, especially in their category. Joe, can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And great news ahead. Pretty exciting stuff.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
There you have it, guys. Really cool session with all the powers that be at VOXX Electronics in the security division. Lots more VOXX coming up. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Till next time, we connect.